Hello, my name is Funrider, and this is a 10,000 mile review on the Lexmoto LXR SC Euro 5 model. So, I have finally hit 10,000, nearly 500 miles on this thing, and I've been riding it every single day without fail. And I gotta say, I absolutely fucking love it. I have barely any faults on it, and it is probably the best purchase that I ever had. Before buying the Lexmoto, I was very skeptical on Chinese bikes, and I'm one of these people where when I'm looking for something, I want to try the other end of the branch, if you get what I mean. So I've had Japanese bikes all the time. I've never had a Chinese bike until now. Ever since I got it, it has completely changed my way of thinking about Chinese bikes. It has never let me down whatsoever. So let's get right into the things. So first, comfort. I've got one little niggle. Let's just start off with the bad points and then go on to the good points. Vibration. In the handlebars mainly, when you get to the top end of the RPM, so probably around 7,000 RPM, because it only rev lines to 10,500 RPM, it can get a bit vibraty in the grips, which is not bad. It's alright. It just gets a bit annoying and gets a bit wary on the wrists if you're riding it every day on 60 mile per hour roads like I am. Other thing, I know it's a sports bike, the suspension is a bit hard, really. And I know the SE model has ups and down forks, and it's got the adjusters on ups and down forks on the front and the monoshock on the rear. But I'm not that mechanically sound, and I don't want to fuck it up. Don't want to mess with it too much. So this is literally the stock setting, and it's a bit too hard on the front mainly. The rear is alright, it's okay. I would like it a tiny bit softer, but at the same time, I'm comparing it to the other bikes I've owned. For example, the Peugeot Kisby R50cc, which I've done a review on this channel. I've also partially owned a CRF, which you can see in the background. The Varadero Honda, you've seen in a few of the videos. Yeah, I'm pretty much comparing it mainly to the Varadero 125 Honda, which is an absolute sofa. It's a sofa on wheels. You know, really soft suspension on the front and back, and then a really comfortable seat. This has less padding, but the seat is actually very comfortable. So, brakes. As you can see on your screen right now, you see there are two discs on the front and a nice big chunky disc on the rear. So, two piston calipers on the front, on both sides. It's combined braking system. And if you're watching this and you're watching the review, you obviously know that already. But the brakes on the front and the rear are absolutely amazing. They are pretty strong for 125, I have to say. The front, it feels like a bigger bike. It definitely has the power of possibly the 400 braking systems that you get. And I should know, I have cheekily ridden a 500, a 600, and a 1300. Not on the road, don't worry, not on the road before the Karens come out and go, oh, I'm going to call the police on you. No. I've ridden it off-road, on property, on private property, so you can suck it. In a way, that gives me the chance to actually compare it for you guys between the 125 braking systems and the bigger bike braking systems. And I can definitely tell on the front and the rear that the braking systems on this bike are no different to a 400 or 500cc motorcycle. There is one problem, but it's not to do with the brakes themselves, it's to do with the brake lever. You can get a few niggly issues with it after a month or two of it being outside. So, the front brake lever can get a bit stiff. You know, there's no like smoothness to the brake pressure, and I believe that's because of the little pressure piston or whatever you call it that's inside. My the seal's actually got a crack in it, so it's drying up. So I think that is something to be aware of if you do get one of these. It's no biggie, it just might need a bit of oil replacing. Up to you, whichever's easier. So, controls, I have had no faults. No faults with the controls. Everything has its place, everything feels like it does something. It's top quality feel. The thing that I do find a little bit difficult, especially on those moments of great peril, I do find it a little bit tricky to find the horn, but that might be just me being an absolute dumbass and I just can't find things in panic. I don't know. But that's something that I personally have a little bit of trouble at. The dashboard, I absolutely love. There is one thing that it says when you actually start it up, it says ABS, which is on the bigger model. So I don't know why it still flashes ABS, because it's a link braking system. It doesn't have ABS. So that bit is a bit annoying. I guess if you've got friends that don't know shit about bikes, you could brag saying this has got ABS and everything, you know, trick them and stuff, then yeah, go for it and brag. But anyway, the screen itself, it's nice and simple. You can see everything with just a little glance down. You can see very clearly how much fuel you got, what RPM you're at, what gear you're in, what the time is, trip, if you're really bothered about trip, and your kilometers an hour, depends on what part of the world you are in. You can see it very, very clearly, even if the sun is shining towards the TFT, which is good, because it shows how bright it is and how clear it is, but at the same time, not so good, because if you, at night time, there is no brightness setting, which I would bloody love on that thing, especially if you live in the middle of nowhere and there's no street lights near the end of your journey or on your way back. And when you're looking at the rev counter and you look back up, you can't see shit because the TFT display is too bright, and then you need to wait until your eyes adjust. The TFT display does have a little sensor to help you in some way when it does get dark. When it senses that it's getting dark, the screen turns black, almost. It's got a black background. Moving on to the engine. Engine, I have possibly only one fault with it, really, and that's power. But like this looks, and how big it is, it needs a more powerful engine, I believe. It needs a more powerful engine. To make this an absolute gem of a bike, I'd say either a V-twin, like Hyosung did with their GTR 125, or maybe have a similar engine to the Yamaha MT, like the power band of the Yamaha MT. And I believe either with those engines and this bike will make it an awesome piece of machinery. I really do. I mean, at the moment, 13 horsepower is actually alright, because this engine especially, it pulls well on any gear apart from going uphill, because obviously it's a 125, it's got no power when it goes uphill, so you have to change down into first almost. Obviously, because it is a Chinese bike, you do have to be careful with maintenance, you have to maintain it well, but at the same time, you have to do that with every single bike. If you treat the bike well, it will treat you well. And because it's a Zhongshan engine, it can get a bit tinny in the top end, but once you've got a aftermarket exhaust, you can't hear that at all. You just hear blaring noise of a Black Widow or Apocalypse or some sort of branded exhaust. The bike itself with this engine is actually pretty decent. Before I got this arrow screen, this bullet screen, it would reach up to, as you saw on the video, around 76, 77 miles an hour. With this screen here and an aftermarket exhaust, which I've taken off, I've put back the standard exhaust because I'm getting complaints now of villagers, basically sweats and grannies and bloody Karens, thinking that I'm some other biker that has an extremely loud exhaust. Hence, JBO Reaper 123. I'm coming for your ass. So yeah, unfortunately I had to put the stock one back on to show that it is not me that is pissing off the locals. But with the screen and the aftermarket exhaust on, top speed goes up to 79 miles an hour. But now I've put the stock back on, it only goes up to 78. I could probably get a bit more speed if I change the sprockets and a better chain. But yeah, I can't be asked. Top speed, it keeps up with any 125. It's kept up with the MT. It's kept up with that very well. I've actually overtaken him when he's trying to go full bore, which he gets pissed off at, and I find very, very funny at. But yeah, I believe if I just had a 14 horsepower engine in with the aerodynamics, this would fly. This would absolutely fly. Even a V-twin, because the torque on a V-twin is just amazing. The exhaust standard is actually pretty decent. It's a stainless steel system as standard. Tyres on this thing, I've still got the standard tyres that came with the bike, and I've had no faults with them whatsoever. Nothing wrong with them. I will warn you though, gravel, it's not its best. It hates gravel. It really, really hates it, and it doesn't really like wet weather as well. It does the exact same thing, so I'm just gonna put this up too. Gravel and water, the rear end likes to slide a tiny bit, especially gravel. Even if you're, going straight, the rear likes to go a bit tail happy. But as long as you're going, if you're in gravel, you're supposed to be going slow anyway, so it's not really a big deal. It just scares you a little bit. It doesn't full on go all the way 360 and then throw you off. So don't worry about that. Water. I live in Wales, so sometimes the rain is quite heavy. And the rear does surprise you sometimes, but only on the tightest of corners. So I'm not sure if it's just me going too hard around the corner or it's the tyre, so I'm not sure if I can fault that too much. Past 10,000 miles, the tyre still has loads of life on the rear. Not sure about front. Yeah, it has some life. The lights on this thing, they're okay. They're decent. They're LEDs. You can't really fault LED lights. When I did get this first, the high beam was a little bit high, but the adjusters, you can see plain as day. Tank. The tank is actually alright. I've got about 140 miles on the full tank. The tank cost me about 10 quid for now. I don't know if fuel prices are going to go up again. Hopefully not. Position on the bike is actually pretty decent. So, that is the start. So you have quite forward. What's going on with the screen there? You can see it's quite forward, quite sporty, and you can definitely tuck down and get as much speed as you can. Seat height is 810 mil, I believe. I'm 5'8", and I can flat foot it perfectly fine. Side stand is a little bit on the thin side, and the bike does lean quite far, but compared to the Euro 4 model, the last model, of the LXR and the LXR SE, the side stand, I believe, was only holding up to about there instead of down here. And that was putting people on edge, just in case it fell over or anything like that if it was windy. The side stand, yeah, it's on the thin side, but it's actually very, very sturdy. I could put all my weight on it. And believe in it, it doesn't make any weird noises or anything like that. Plastics, they're actually very good fitting. Very good fitting. And it doesn't feel like cheap plastic. It feels like good quality motorcycle bodywork plastic almost. You know, bodywork like Kawasaki or Honda that they use on their CVR. For example, 650R or something like that. It feels the same quality of plastic on that. Everything has its place. Nothing moves at all, and it's brilliant. I do have one little niggle though of this seat, which I've completely forgotten about until now. It's the seat removal, which I'll show you now. So, got the little slot there. You have to do it by two hands, but I've only got one hand. So, you'd think, okay, might as well take this off. Oh wait, you can't. And that's what, because you have to take this plastic off, which I'm not going to, because I'd rather keep my fingernails. And once you take that off, and on the other side, you need to get a ratchet and get a 10mm on both sides to take this off. And then you'll access the battery. The rear seat, it's got loads of padding now, which is good if you have a passenger. But, because it's got the little clippies, it's also a bit of a prick to get back on. There we go. Perfect. And sometimes, like me, if you're stupid, don't forget to pull it out, because I always do. The keys, they're like standard Chinese keys. You have the same on the Benelli, all the LXR models, LXS, that little flip knife key. I believe you have them on the AGS as well. AGS Highway Star, Keyway, they're all doing the same design of the little flick knife, which is pretty cool, but it's not original. So, let's show you what it sounds like. Starts right on the button. And I'll let you know what that sounds like also with the Black Widow exhaust. Please excuse the background music.
So I can get a Harley Davidson t-shirt and a Harley Davidson helmet.
For fuck's sake. It was on my TikTok, don't judge me. So, that is everything that covers the LXR SE, pretty much. I absolutely love it. The best purchase I've pretty much ever had, along with the Varadero. I'd say it's probably up to par with the Varadero quality and the Yamaha MT quality, just with less power. I am going to put it up there and say it it's probably a little bit better. Those are the only things that I really want. And a bigger tank. I want a bigger tank. Like, it looks massive. And then inside it's a fucking teeny one. Bigger tank. Less vibration on the grips. Slightly softer suspension on the rear, so my arse can live, not die inside. And a more powerful engine. So apart from that, it has never faulted me. I have gone from Wales all the way to England many times, 200 miles. No problem. I've been to the Stourbridge meet, and as you saw, Lexmoto didn't falter, but the Benelli did. The Benelli TNT that one of my mates have, that faltered. Yeah, it's all round a brilliant bike, especially for the money. I just absolutely love it. Yeah, I hope this has helped a little bit on a little bit of a review on what it's actually like to ride all the time. Like me, I ride it every day, so I know exactly what everything is like. If you do have any questions, do feel free to ask in the comments. If you like this video, give it a nice thumbs up. If you haven't already, subscribe, join the funrider family, and go on to my TikTok. I will be posting on them when I can. But yeah, I will be doing some more videos very shortly. I'm just trying to get the GoPro mount onto my new helmet. Unfortunately, the new helmet's very pointy and aerodynamic, so I'm trying to figure out where the fuck I can put it. But yeah, see you guys in the next video. Ride safe.